Hey, my name is Drew Boa. I'm the founder of Husband Material, where I help men outgrow porn. Thank you for listening to my interview with Sathiya Sam, who is just a wonderful man. Every time I hear him talk, I am just amazed at the wisdom that flows from him. He is the author of The Last Relapse, Realize Your Potential, Reclaim Intimacy, and Resolve the Roots of Porn Addiction. And today we have a wonderful conversation about 3 levels of freedom, what it looks like to find purpose and how that drives long term freedom from porn, and why connection with other human beings is more important than ever. I had fun with Sathiya, and I hope you have fun listening. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to Husband Material. Today I have the pleasure of hanging out with the author of The Last Relapse, the founder of Deep Clean, and my personal friend, Sathiya Sam. Welcome back to the show.
What's up, man? You and I've been talking a bunch off camera, so we just get to keep the conversation going. It's gonna be fun.
You were one of the very first guests on this podcast.
That's right. I forgot about that. That was fun. I was in my little dinky apartment back then, and it was
Yeah, it's really cool to see how far we have both come. And so I'm excited to hear more about what you have been learning and what you have been teaching lately. Sathiya, why are you passionate about this work of helping men get free from porn?
I think when you and I first met, I was sort of in the I quit porn. I figured it out. I finally figured it out, guys. Let me help you figure this out as well. It was really that zeal of just, oh my goodness, this is actually possible. I was pretty sure it was possible, but it was still all theory until, I eventually was walking in. At that time, it was 3 years about clean up pornography. What kind of has happened since then, probably around 2 or 3 years, and you and I have talked about this off camera, off interview, is it's like running a business in general is hard. I think running a business in our space is exceptionally challenging in a lot of different regards. Just having days that year where I thought maybe I will just not do this anymore. Maybe I'll quit. And I had the Holy Spirit like kind of tap me on my shoulder and be like, hey, don't forget about the guys, right? Like this isn't actually about you. And I was looking at the guys, and it was a string. It wasn't like immediate, but probably just over a few months. There were a couple of really powerful stories that came out of our community of guys not just quitting porn, but finding purpose. Like a guy started a business. There was a guy who got involved in his church again after kind of being on hiatus. And so I kind of realized, oh yeah, that's what we're doing here. Like you don't set people free so that they can say I'm free. You set people free so that they can fly. And the
Yeah.
places that these guys fly is just incredible. And that's been real good fuel for the fire the last couple of years of just staying on this path and trying to grow and scale and reach more people and change more guys. And we kind of have this adage now in our community, like change the man, change the world, to kind of symbolize that is actually what's happening. What we facilitate is that interchange within the man, but make no mistake, and what happens in husband material as well, like you change on the inside so that you can then go make the world a better place. And that is what makes this whole thing worthwhile for me.
Right. There are so many ripple effects that you and I will never see
Yeah. Yeah.
in marriages, families, communities, generations.
Generations. Yeah.
And I so resonate with having thoughts of giving up or just quitting the ministry sometimes.
Yeah.
But when I think about the guys and when I look into their eyes, can't go back.
No. No. I was talking with somebody about this yesterday, and it's somebody who's very passionate about our work. He's been through the program. He really liked his experience, and he was upset at the lack of scale. And he was specific. He's a businessman, so he's kind of looking at what we've done, and he's like, I was watching your YouTube channel, and like, I don't get how millions of people aren't watching this stuff. And I'm like, dude, right? We kind of have that conversation. And he said something that really struck me, and I think you'd agree with this. He's like, I don't think people realize that this is actually life and death. This guy did our program, and about 5 months in, he was kind of half committed and he just wasn't getting the results he wanted, wasn't getting the outcome. A bunch of things were going wrong in his life. He kind of joined the program because a girl dumped him. And so he was doing the program to get the girl back, which you and I know is never really the right reason to do what we do. And dude, 5 months into our program, he's got a gun with a bullet in it to his head. And he's like, I had my finger on the trigger, and I saw the deep clean forgiveness script. And as I have the gun to my head, I'm forgiving people. I'm forgiving myself. I'm forgiving, and he's like, dude, he's like, my life has not been the same since that moment.
Mm.
And he starts talking about, all the ways that his life has changed and whatever else. And I just like, oh, this is actually life and death. That's not a dramatic statement at all. This guy is literally living proof that like what we're doing is so important. And anyways, it just drove it home. It's something I've really been thinking about lately. The other layer to this is, maybe most clients aren't at that place of they're thinking about ending their life, but there's an eternal battle going on here. And there's still a fight for our souls. And a lot of people who, have pornography in their lives, if maybe they're not dying physically, but they're dying on the inside. So I just think, again, it's so critical, it's so important. And the one thing that is nice since you and I first started compared to now is I do think the world in some ways is actually a lot more aware of it. Like I remember when I told people I was starting deep clean and everyone was like, oh yeah, good luck, man. Hope that works out for you. It was kind of like that, oh, like what an uncomfortable subject and that'll never work. And I feel like we owe a lot to people like you actually, because I feel like you've really championed this subject and really have just said like, hey, it's okay. You've been so vulnerable about your struggle. You just championed something really special. And I think a lot of the world is waking up. Like fitness podcasts want to talk about this stuff now, and just there's places where this conversation wasn't happening 6-7 years ago that it is now, and people are waking up, which is cool to see. It's not all doom and gloom, people, there's some good things happening too.
Yeah. Praise God. You talked about the eternal battle here, and that reminds me of three levels of freedom: eternal, internal, and external.
Yes.
What are those three levels?
Okay, so this is kind of the backbone of Deep Clean and what we've built. And actually, part of it ties into the story I shared at the beginning, which I don't normally share, but I had a realization a few years in that this is not really about helping guys quit porn or outgrow porn. I love the language you use there. It's really about helping guys become everything that God has made them to be. And we just have to get pornography out of the way so that they can do that unchained, right? So the freedom ladder is what we call it. It's three levels of freedom because I believe that man can experience freedom in these all three arenas, and that's when he's at his best. And the three arenas are the eternal, the internal, and the external. And so I think in the Christian world, we understand eternal freedom. That's the most important freedom, and there's nothing like having your salvation and knowing that we get to spend eternity with Christ. I think if you kind of maybe expand the Christian world a little bit, I've been in a lot of like Christian business circles and personal development circles, and a lot of them will talk about eternal freedom, which is great, and they'll talk about external freedom. Whether that's financial means or with your time or purpose or just some sort of evolution that is external and visible. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But how many people have we seen that have these awesome platforms? They've built successful organizations. They go to the gym, like externally, they have everything. And then they have a moral failure. They have infidelity. Their marriage leads to divorce. Something combusts internally. And that's because they miss that second rung of the ladder, that internal freedom that kind of ties everything together. And so the thing that Deep Clean is built on is obviously eternal freedom. That's everyone's foundation in this battle. But the second is internal freedom first, then external freedom. That framework has been really helpful to just give some language to what we see happening, guys, which is they quit pornography, going through Deep Clean, and then they go and do incredible things. And we're actually working on a second division in the company. I don't have a timeline for the rollout, something that is sort of a phase two. Once you quit pornography, here's sort of a way to take things to the next level. Because I have people reaching out to me now being like, hey, I love what you built at Deep Clean. You helped me quit pornography. I don't need to keep doing the quit porn stuff, but what else can I do to keep the journey going? And so we're surveying clients when they finish with us now. We're trying to figure out where they want more help. We've been doing that for a while. We have some pretty good data to build sort of that second installment. There's more work to be done, right? Beyond just quitting pornography.
Yeah. And there's so much more than just waiting for eternity.
Yeah, right.
I love that image of getting free so that we can fly. It's so cool to think about what that could look like for each of us. At the end of Husband Material Academy, we have people finish the course with a creative capstone People have written songs, they've filmed themselves dancing, including me. I did an interpretive dance.
Hey, let's go.
One guy made food, one guy did like a video montage, one guy like carved something. We've got artists,
Wow.
and they're all expressing something that's unique to them. And I'm like, man, these guys are flying. They're not just putting something away. You know, they're stepping into their unique God identity.
Yeah. And I think even in recovery, recovery work is heavy, right? It's got an intensity to it. And I think it's so important that guys don't lose sight of the fact that, hey, number one, this is for a season. You don't do the deep, intense recovery work every day for the rest of your life. But number two, like if this is done well, it actually catapults you into some really beautiful things. And I even think of what you and I are doing. I remember you replied to one of my newsletters probably like 4 years ago now. But my wife and I had moved to Jamaica for a little bit, and I had done a newsletter about taking risks and kind of like that utopia. Because I was in a season of my life where I just quit my job to do deep clean full time. We moved to Jamaica, and I talked about how moving to Jamaica was really, I was talking about a lot with my audience, not to be like, hey, everybody needs to move to a tropical paradise because this is the best thing ever, but just to illustrate, this is what freedom is actually about. It's about having options in your life. It means that the next time you're tempted, your only option isn't to watch pornography. You have another option. You can regulate, you can breathe, you can go for a walk, you can SOS your friend. That whole concept expands to everything. You can have freedom in your purpose and everything else. And I don't know if you remember this, but I asked a question at the end of the newsletter, and I said, what's your Jamaica? What's the thing that you're going after, your place of freedom? And you wrote me back and you said, I'm living in my Jamaica right now. Husband material is exactly where I want to be. I don't envision myself doing anything different. I love the guys I'm working with. I love that I get to do this. And it really struck me. Like I still remember it. I don't remember a lot of the responses I get to our newsletters, but I remember that one because I think that's what it's about. Like your story is such a great example of, you did a lot of hard work to quit pornography, to outgrow pornography. And now look at you, like the level of freedom you have in your sense of purpose, and what you built in husband material and everything just continues to grow and evolve because of that. And that's what we want for our clients as well. That's what we want for people at Deep Clean to exactly. It's just to fly, not just to check the box and say, I quit pornography and I can volunteer in church again. Like that is so amazing. But this thing compounds and it evolves and develops over time. That's the beautiful part of this.
It is beautiful. And by the way, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I'm still completely in love with this work.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Do you remember that response? Do you remember doing that?
no, but it sounds spot on. I mean, that's been one of the challenges for me. Try to get help with the business. They'll say, well, what do you want? What are your goals? And I'm like, my dreams have come true.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you've been talking more lately about how purpose and calling are essential for long-term freedom.
Yeah.
And Jay Stringer's research showed that like men without a sense of purpose are 7 times more likely to use porn. And yet this is an area where so many guys just feel stuck. Like, where do I start? How does discovering your purpose help you? And what does that look like?
There's lots of research now that just shows that people who have purpose and meaning in life generally don't gravitate towards things like pornography, maybe at all, or certainly as much. So I think it's a big deal. I think that it's a complicated question. Like maybe the number one question that I got as a pastor is, what is my purpose? And how do I step into my purpose and know what it is? But I would say, when you don't know your purpose, it's actually hard to really experience true freedom. It's one thing to be free from something, which is a lot of the work we focus on. But when we're talking about purpose, that's about getting free towards something. And you need both. You do need to get rid of those things that entangle, those things that are weighing you down. But purpose is the thing that catapults you forward. And the beautiful thing about purpose, and this is incredibly biblical, is it doesn't have to be starting a husband material or a deep clean. You don't need to start a podcast and build a platform around what you've gone through. It doesn't have to be public. It doesn't have to be even grandiose. It just has to be something bigger than you. That's really all it needs to start with. And maybe it just means that you show up at home and you're really present with your kids and your wife. that honestly might be it. And you work your job, and your job is great. And maybe it's not the dream job, but it's getting things done, but you can be a great father at home. Dude, do that. Do it with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. There's nothing wrong with that. For people that are, really stuck on the purpose thing, we have a little bit of a framework, which is, and again, this is some of the stuff that we're gonna be releasing a bit later on. But purpose really is comprised of three macronutrients. It's calling, which is the spiritual, skills, which is the practical, and passion, which is the psychological. And I think when you merge those three things together, I think that's where man really finds his purpose. So that's, again, it's a little bit of a nutshell overview, but those are some of the things that I think are really powerful.
I like how you've laid that out because when we even say the word purpose, it's like, well, what are we really talking about here? Because when some people hear purpose, they think career or maybe even like ministry. Yet our first calling is spiritual, it's to the Lord Himself.
Yeah,
You know, before we do anything, our calling is just to be His beloved sons. And then those other two, the skill and the passion, are like how we live that out.
exactly. I mean, I witnessed a lot over the years. I mean, I've been in very different church circles. God's just like, I started off in a very kind of United Methodist to Reformed to Charismatic Pentecostal, and I feel like I'm just a mishmash where I am now. And I witnessed very different versions of this. That's part of what inspired the framework, because I think the spiritual calling, or the sense that God's calling you to something, I think a lot of people understand that. Whether you've experienced it or not, I think people at least get it to some degree. But then I saw a lot of people who were passionate about something, then they felt a call to it, but then they didn't really have the skills, or they weren't willing to develop the skills that were required to really drive that thing forward. And so you end up kind of like on a two-legged stool that actually needs a third leg to be properly stable. And on the flip side, there's also people who have kind of the golden handcuffs, as it were, where they're going in a direction they feel like they're supposed to. They maybe utilize some of their skills, but whether the container is not right, or the environment's not right, or it's just not the right opportunity, there's no passion for what they're doing, and it ends up being, really really draining. And again, just not quite that true sense of purpose, and that what I'm doing is actually giving me life. Again, it's a great way to evolve that journey post pornography.
Totally. And we want a purpose that is sustainable, not one in which we burn out or get drained and trigger to relapse.
Hmm.
Although I think there's also a piece of coming under potential spiritual attack while we are pursuing our purpose too.
Yeah.
We can expect opposition and maybe things will get harder for a season.
Have you experienced that with husband material?
Like clockwork, I experience that every time we're launching something new, something that could make a big difference. The storms come exactly on time,
Yeah.
whether it's a string of sexual inappropriate behavior in our community or something that I've done that creates a big mess, or something that another leader has done, or even losing our retreat center the night before our very first retreat.
Yeah.
Uh,
Remember that story.
yeah, it's been something that I've come to expect, that living with purpose and taking redemptive risks is so life-giving, and also it's rugged and it's vulnerable. And you and I have talked about some of the heartache and some of the discouragement that we've often felt while trying to step out and help guys more broadly.
Yeah, it's challenging for sure. And I was just thinking about, like, if the enemy can't attack you in what you're doing specifically, if he can't create chaos in the endeavor, then he creates chaos at home.
Mm.
Like, I remember I was working on the book, The Last Relapse, and I heard like a bang in my shower in the bath. It was the door across the hall from my office. And my wife went into like a full-blown panic attack, while I'm working on my book. And that started to happen more regularly throughout the writing of that book. It was a wild season, and there was lots of things going on, but everything kind of just came to a peak at that time. So yeah, there is a vulnerability, and there is a sticking your neck out. But it's interesting, because in keeping with that, the purpose conversation, I think the purpose comes first, typically before the pain, right? You say, yes, Lord, I'm going to go help guys quit pornography. Yes, Lord, I'm going to go start that business. Yes, Lord, I'm going to go ask that girl out, whatever it is. And the pain comes later. I think God knows what he's doing. He gets us committed. And I think that thing that we commit to, assuming that it's something we're passionate about, he's calling us to it. Those are the things that really keep us committed and anchored in those seasons where it is difficult or challenging, and your family's getting attacked, or your business, or whatever it might be.
So, Sathya, as a pioneer in this field, someone who's creating and leading and pressing into what's next, what do you see as really important in the next few years and in where this recovery movement is going?
I've just been observing in, DMs on Instagram, the emails we're getting in, wherever it is, people I think are really looking for real connection more than ever before. Because in the online world now, it's very difficult to tell what is AI and what's not. I mean, maybe the videos you can tell, like, okay, that's got an AI feel to it. But this is the worst that AI will ever be, right? So 2 years from now, 5 years from now, where are things going to be? I don't know, but probably beyond anything we could really imagine. And I think that the desire and the need for human interaction, digital and definitely in person, is going to skyrocket. It's already there. We're all very aware. Social media, it's kind of this pseudo connection. It's not real, but we all kind of settle for it anyway. But I think there's going to become a huge revolt, and people are really going to be looking for communities online, places they can plug in, have authentic conversations, talk to other people that they know are people, and not a bot, not some AI generated piece of material, but I'm actually getting real authentic stuff. I think that's the direction our world is going in. So for me, that's when I think about the recovery space. I just think we need to keep building on that adage that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection, and really making sure that we're creating as many environments as possible for that to happen. So, like, one thing we launched this year, we call it Deep Clean Inner Circle. For people that are familiar with you, it'd be very similar to Husband Material Academy, trying to create that community, that environment. That comes with a cost. There's a free version of it as well, just to give people a chance to plug in a community wherever it might be. But ultimately, I just believe that something like Deep Clean Inner Circle, where guys can get community, they can get camaraderie, they can see, okay, there's somebody else, there's Joe in Nebraska, there's Phil in Florida, or wherever it is, who's on the same journey with me, and he's a real person. I can read his profile, I can see his commentary, I can see him on a group call. I think that has never been more valuable. And I think it's also, to kind of use the same statement I used about AI, I think it's the least valuable it will ever be. I think in the days ahead, these kinds of communities are going to be just very, very significant, not just to quit pornography, but actually just for our overall mental health and general well-being. I think it's going to be so, so important.
Yeah. For any man, for any living, breathing, embodied human to have friends, like to have community. It reminds me of the comment that maybe the biggest miracle Jesus ever did is to have 12 friends in his 30s.
I think it's something I didn't know about the 30s, is how challenging it is to have to build those friendships. And it's funny, I was with my ops guy, his name is Oscar. We were at a baseball game, and I was talking about this with him, and there was a couple beside us, and I guess they couldn't help it over here. And they said, "Hey, how old are your kids?" Just like out of nowhere, we weren't talking with them. They just said, "How old are your kids?" And I said, "Oh, two, and I have a newborn." They said, "Oh, just it gets better. Wait till they're in school. You'll build friends again. You'll have community again. It's just a little bit difficult in this season." So I was like, "Oh, thanks so much. I'm going to take that." So I think again, those realities are there, but I do think the digital world necessitates some more human interaction.
Yeah. And maybe husband material is not the best fit for somebody. Go to Deep Clean, check out the inner circle, check out some of the other communities. Like, we're collaborating more than ever, and we need to, because I think the enemy's strategy is to divide and conquer. If you dabble in some of these different communities and you decide you want to join their program, awesome. Check out the links in the show notes if you want to check out Deep Clean Inner Circle, also Sathiya's book, The Last Relapse.
The one thing that I think has been really special about even just the camaraderie between Deep Clean and Husband Material is you and we're very non-competitive with each other, and we've also sent guys over to Husband Material just to say, hey, if you didn't like what you got here, or this didn't feel like quite the right match, what Drew and his community are doing are phenomenal. We used to have an automation set up even to talk about the community. If people couldn't afford something and they just wanted a free community, husband material was kind of the thing that we'd plug that in, because I really believe, and this is something that's really unfortunate, like we're in very politically charged times right now. It's very polarizing. People are kind of, going into camps, and it's very adversarial. The reality is our diversity in our beliefs, in our offerings, in the program systems. There's so much strength in that diversity. I was listening to a podcast. It's called Psychiatry and Psychology. It's by a guy named Dr. David Pewter. He's a very reputable psychiatrist. And he had this guy come on, and they were talking about just all the different modalities and methodologies that have emerged out of psychotherapy over the last 30 years. And they did an assessment of them, and they found that psychotherapy practices today are basically just as effective as they were back, 30 years ago, or whatever the time distance was, which is a little, you kind of hear that and you go, no way, we must have gotten a little bit better. And he said, well, yeah, he said, we did actually get better, but he said specifically what we got better at was creating modalities and methods that reach more people. And so somebody may not want to do EMDR, but they'll go do equine therapy because they're like, oh, I'll hang out with horses, no problem. And, and obviously there's more education, so more people are getting into it. And so he wasn't saying that, we're bad. We're just as effective as we were before. We're way more effective because we can reach more people, because we're educating them more, but also there's a diversity of what you can experience. And that diversity has added so much strength to our society. And so I feel the same way. Like, again, I don't know how many porn recovery coaches I really knew in 2019 other than Drew Boa, Frank Rich. I think maybe Sean and I got connected there as well when Sean was starting Secret Habit. But I probably have 2 to 3 guys reach out to me per month now on Instagram or Facebook or somewhere saying, hey, I'm starting a community. Hey, I'm starting an app. Hey, I'm starting a coaching practice helping guys quit porn. What do you recommend? There's so many now. I can't even keep up with all of them. And again, to me, that's a beautiful thing about that, because it means those guys are probably going to reach people I'll never reach. And that means we get to serve more people, and more men's lives get changed that are going to go make the world a better place. So praise God.
Praise God. We celebrate that. Some of you guys probably don't know that Henry Brown, who is our chief operations officer, first went through Deep Clean before he came to Husband Material.
Yes.
And
yes.
Sean Bonato, one of your head coaches, was a Husband Material coach before he joined your team.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's a lot of overlap here. I strongly recommend Deep Clean. Go check out Sathiya's resources. Sathiya, what is your favorite thing about continuing to grow and heal and learn in this area?
I think it's 2 things. Like, the first thing is that you never forget. Like, it's been almost 10 years, and I'm sure there's some things I forget about what it was like to struggle and all that, but it's really fun working with guys in this journey, because somebody says something and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that feeling, I remember that struggle. I remember that victory, that discovery. So I think it's really fun to just constantly be reminded of what God did, some really difficult moments and challenges and some really amazing breakthroughs. And I think the other thing for me is it just never gets old to be married and to not have this as part of the marriage. My wife and I switched churches about 3-ish years ago, and we were very involved in the previous church, active on the worship team, and I was on staff there, and Shalomo actually was, an intern there at one point, and so very well known. And when we were at this new church, we just really enjoyed sitting in the back, not being involved, not having a stage presence. We kind of did that for about 2 years. And then eventually, people start to find out about what we do and what we're up to. And we plug into the worship team now and we love it. But with people understanding more about Deep Clean and what I do, we hear a lot more stories. A lot more couples come to us and talk about the challenges they're going through and all that. And obviously we see it in our clients in Deep Clean as well. And for me, I'm very grateful that our marriage is where it is at. And not just because it's been free of porn, but this is something I really emphasize with our guys is this is not just about you going through a a euphoric experience. Deep clean is not meant to be just a bunch of hype. It's not meant to be a bunch of like feel good experiences. We're trying to build skills that last well beyond your duration with us, because skills can stand the test of time. And whether you go on and you do a completely different thing, you move across the country, you change careers, you have more kids, those skills are gonna survive that. They're going to at least give you a fighting chance to do it. And so for me, just the skills that I learned in recovery have strengthened my marriage so much. And we've gone through a lot of big life changes with kids and, moves and all that kind of stuff. And, I think those are the parts for me that I just cherish the most in this season.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for being with us again.
Always a pleasure, man. I love being on here.
Thanks, Sathiya. Everyone, thanks for listening. And don't forget to check out Sathiya's podcast, The Man Within, which is actually 4 episodes a week. If you want to go over to The Man Within, check it out. And always remember, you are God's beloved son. In you, he is well pleased.